the beaches of Aeternum are fresh. Not a player has set foot on the untainted servers, nor done a single tutorial quest. My name is Danotage, and if you're watching this video when it drops, you have T-minus 14 hours until the first official New World servers start to light up. For most of us, this means that at the very least, the next few months are going to be filled to the brim with questing, expeditions, crafting, selling, battling our friends and rivals, and fighting for island domination. Welcome to the most comprehensive yet succinct guide to your first day on Aeternum. Leave a like now and spread the knowledge and support the channel. I could not appreciate it more. Thank you. Now, it's time. Follow me and let's get started. Before we fully get into things, here are some good pieces of info you'll need from me. We are joining the El Dorado server on the NA West region, and we're joining the Covenant. We have been talking about this on stream, and it feels like the best bet for us to have a challenge without having to deal with anything like drama or really any of the nonsense. It leaves us with the most room for victory as we strike down the heretics, make them believe. If you'd like to join us, join the server, and we'll get more info when we're live over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Danotage. This is also your final notice to enter the giveaway for one of our many game keys that Amazon sent me as a part of the Battle for New World. All of this info is in the description, so make sure you keep an eye out on your emails. One question that has even baffled myself until I fully squeezed out the information from one of the developers is how worlds work. So, there are many servers that will be available right at the start of the launch. They are split up into a couple different categories, and this is important for claiming your desired character name and playing on multiple servers if you so desire. First, regions. All information that is relative, I'll link, or a link to the image or whatever it has to do that is relative to what we're talking about will be in the description, straight from Amazon for your best convenience. There are 5 different regions, and this is the order that they will be going live. Central Europe, South America, and Australia at the same time. North America East, and finally North America West. Sorry, Asia. They will be staggered starting times so that every region starts around 8 AM for the respective local time. This is meant to have a smoother launch as well as give everyone a fair and starting gaining money and taking territories. Personally, I'm a fan. I think it makes sense. It's a little weird, not many things have done this way, but I think it works. So, creating a character is very simple once you hear this explanation. It's not something that is perfectly straightforward. Hopefully this helps. The number of characters you can have is not region locked, so you can have at least one character in each region. However, they are world locked. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that there are several worlds per region. For example, if you see the server list, on the NA West side, there are servers that sit in the Westernese Zeta, the Westernese Theta, the Westernese New, etc. Those are the worlds that exist on the region. There are several worlds, several servers on each world. You can have one character in each world. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose is just yet, but I assume it's for some cool plans in the future, or simply a protection against something, cluster-wise, of course. So finally, your name. I believe that there was an announcement that claimed you will only be able to hold on to your name once it's been created after you delete it for a few minutes. I think really the clarification was once you deleted your name, you had to wait a minute or two until you can create a new character with that same name. So, word directly from the dev team is that once you create a character, that character's name is tied to your Steam ID for about 60 days, 60 to 90, I forget what it is, but it's a long time. This means that if you create a character and name it, you now own that name. So, if you want to make a different character on a different server with your favorite name, you can do so. However, you can only have one character named a specific way at a time. So, Once the character is created, you will have to delete that character in order to create a new one with the same name. But you don't have to have the fear of losing out on that name after that, because once you own it, it's yours. Starting on the beach. One of the first things that you do is finish the tutorial quests. If you played through the beta, you should be able to burn through this in just a few minutes. If you haven't, pay attention to how things are crafted. It's pretty simple, but getting through it and getting your eyeballs on it is a lot better than just kind of going in blind. Then, you'll want to figure out where on the map you've started. There are a good handful of starting areas, and getting the exact one you want is possible, but you'll have to check another guide for that. I also wouldn't say this is worth it for day one, as there may be a queue on your server. There are simply the chaos and just wasting time and getting the right starting point is not worth it. If you are not starting in the same area as your friends, I would suggest doing the main quest as fast as you can. The quest line that starts to open up and allow you to get anywhere and quest anywhere is called Old Stone Remembers. Get on that quest line and it'll start to breathe you into the world. It doesn't take very long to get there, it's pretty low level, and it should help you learn most of the game before you start needing to group up with people anyway. Okay, now for economy and goods. Here are some important factoids about your money and items that will help you get started. For a lot of people, you may have your own plan on what you want to do, keep, spend, or use. But for those that don't have a plan yet, this will help. As you do gain XP and do things inside a territory, you'll start earning standing. The moment you reach level 10 standing in any individual territory, you'll be able to buy a house. It'll give you that option, it'll make it very clear that you can do so. You may not want to buy a house right away, but that's when it becomes the option, and that's when it becomes available. At least for the least expensive one in that settlement. It's important to remember for houses that your first one is half off. So some may choose to wait until they get a standing that allows them to buy the tier 2 or the tier 3 house, because half off is of a higher price just sounds better. However, you may want to think about buying a house when you can, because that cheap travel point is really valuable, and you don't really have too many ways to gain Azoth, so it's pretty nice. Azoth being the magical material that you need to fast travel, as well as enchant your weapons, as well as do lots of things. So it's pretty nice to keep a hold of, it's pretty nice not to waste, and having that house does help you. Which leads me to tools. The tutorial quest will ask you to create a couple of basic flint tools, but you will probably want to create the rest of the tool set. This will help you get leveling on those gathering skills as soon as you possibly can. Once you have a pickaxe and you create a path on finding iron, this may help you in creating iron tools. I say do this early, and I say this is a very early day one thing because flint tools are kind of a big bummer. They break pretty easily, there's no perks attached to them, they take forever to harvest anything. They're just kind of something you want to skip over pretty quickly. They're not bad, so for those that don't do so, or those don't find iron, or don't want to craft, you're going to be just fine, but those iron tools are a really, really big part of it, and they help a lot. If you're feeling risky, you may want to spend a little bit of Azoth, that precious Azoth, on some tools when you craft, to see what kind of cool perks you can get on your iron tools. For those perks that you don't want, you can sell those, and those will most likely sell for a good amount and get you started on your starter money. You can do this at the trading post within a territory settlement. Important to note that trading posts are for local selling only, so make sure you pick a pretty busy settlement when selling your goods. That way they'll sell pretty darn fast. Next, it leads me to factions. The next thing you may want to think about is which faction you want to choose. The faction you choose is important for 3 reasons. First, it dictates which company you can join or invite people to. Companies, or guilds as they're known in most MMOs, are completely faction specific. In most MMOs, you pick your faction before you even create your character. In this game, you pick your faction around level 9-10-ish. It really isn't level specific, it's based on the main quest. Again, another reason to focus on your main quest. If people are in the same company, they are most definitely in the same faction. Factions also have faction-wide chat, as well as perks for their members depending on which territories they earn. If you look at some of the territories, you'll see maybe a cow in the middle of the territory. Only your faction can use it. You get some free milk. There may be hunting tools. There may be food and beverages and whatnot. You know, a little merriment to go around. The second is that you can only party with members of your faction if you choose to flag for PvP. PvP is not something you have to do, but you gain a 10% bonus XP when you are flagged. So it may be something that you want to think about. The third is purely cosmetic. The endgame faction gear is themed per faction. The Syndicate has sort of a Plague Doctor look, while the Marauders have more of a brutal military garb. And the Covenant are a bit reminiscent of Witch Hunters from Warhammer. If you're not familiar, they've got a nice flat hat, maybe goes well with a rapier, and just kind of looks cool. They all look cool in their own sense. It may also be of interest to you that from my experience, seeing the numbers that are pretty consistent throughout every server. You have the highest population faction, more than likely being the Syndicate. It will also contain the more aggressive, trolly, spammy members of every server. It's not going to be for everyone, but that is more than likely going to be a higher percentage on that side because, well, that's where a lot more people will go. The second highest population is more than likely going to be the Marauders. It's a good middle-of-the-line faction for those that mostly play PvE, but not too hindered by the PvP that goes around you. The lowest has mostly been the Covenant, which leaves the most room for effective organization, and if you're someone that wants to participate in wars and PvP battles, you'll have a more than likely chance to get picked for those, especially if you're not part of the company that's running the war or the battle. And your skills will shine through a lot easier. There'll be less competition within your own faction. It will be harder, but it will be more rewarding. Speaking of PvP, player versus player action is never something you have to actively participate in. Not once. You can play PvE throughout the entire game. You can completely level through PvP. You can do whatever you like. It's a nice split. It is something that may affect you though, even as a PvE player. Obviously, that 10% bonus XP isn't huge, but it is something. Especially because you're not really risking any time or repair parts just in case you die. So you don't get that XP, but you're not using other things that may take as much time as you'd get from that 10% bonus XP. So it's more of just a balancing feature. However, everyone is affected by the territories that their faction owns. There are bonus supplies that you can select, as I mentioned earlier. Bonus supplies that you can collect, but only if your faction owns it. You also get a bit of a tax break for everything you do inside territories. That goes for owning a house, that goes for trading, crafting, everything. Not to mention that you can also transfer items from storage to storage throughout your faction lands. It comes at the price of gold, but it's still really nice. You may ask, how do I help if I don't want a PvP? Well, there are many ways. You can always provide goods to your fellow faction members. Food, potions, gear, tools, everything helps when somebody's spending all their time crafting and you're at a much higher level skill than those who receive their XP from fighting other players. You can either sell these items in the settlements that you know your faction members will buy from, your own factions, and your own members and your own territories, or you can simply tune into the faction chat and directly offer up some goodies. Trust me, these items can turn the tide of any battle. I would say that if skills were even close to evenly matched, the number of items and the better items will always win the battle. You can also directly send money to literally anyone on the server. That part doesn't matter as far as your faction, but you're probably going to want to send money to people within your faction. You go to your inventory, it's down at the bottom, you select who you want to send it to, and you send that money. It allows you to chip in for taking a territory or waging war. It costs 100,000 gold to take an unclaimed territory. This is something that a lot of people will be trying to do on day one of New World, and up to 15,000 to wage war at the maximum amount of resources needed in a battle. That part we'll get into a different video, but basically there are different tiers, and the most expensive is 15,000, and that's more than where you want to go anyway. After you've created some sort of side plan for your side hustle or in-game hobby, simply sticking with the main quest line and having as much fun as you possibly can will suit you just fine when playing New World. Remember to keep things fun, and you will be successful beyond your wildest dreams on Aeternum. If you have any questions about starting your journey in New World or any other suggestions, please put them in our comments or join us in Discord. Also remember that these are just the basics, so stay subscribed for more advanced skill videos and explanations of cool lore in the game. I am honored to have been your guide into day 1 of New World, and I can't wait to see you on the island. I've been Danotage, and please leave a like if you enjoyed what you heard. Until next time, I'll see ya.